All right, hi everyone, and welcome back to Product Training with Blue Triangle. Today we'll be going through the latest new page in the portal, and that is the new JavaScript errors and CSP violations page. The existing page has been fully revamped to provide much more information and insight and drill down capability so you can really understand the impact these errors are having on your site. All right, so now let me introduce Tim Grant, who is our founder and CTO, and today he'll be walking you through this new page and everything it can do. So Tim, we really appreciate your time today and look forward to getting the walkthrough from you firsthand. So I'll go ahead now and pass it over to you.
Thanks, Mark, and thank you all for joining us today. And for those of you watching the recording later on, we'll certainly feel free to reach out to us over social media or email or whatever, or call us. We're happy to jump on and talk about this more because it's near and dear to our hearts. So I want to just start off by talking about JavaScript errors. One thing that I've heard recently is, why are JavaScript errors important? And I want to just talk about that for just a couple of minutes up front. If you open up your Chrome browser and go to a website, I just picked Walmart. They're really big, so no offense if you're from Walmart. Every site has some JavaScript errors at some point or another. I just went to their homepage. I turn on Chrome DevTools. If you turn on Chrome DevTools and you go to this tab right here called Console, you'll see that there are some JavaScript errors that are happening on their page. And what this is a function or something that was in the code for JavaScript and it failed to take its action. Okay, something bad happened. In this case, it's a syntax error. And whatever that line of code was supposed to do, it didn't do it. So the more JavaScript errors you have on your page can lead to page instability. Okay, so that's one kind of, sounds a little bit innocuous at the high level, but I've worked with some companies and it seems like every year we have a couple of our customers will have an issue with, JavaScript errors cause some sort of problem like the cart button won't work or the checkout button won't work, and which is pretty severe. But otherwise, it does affect your site, and it's something that should be an initiative to clean up. So you'll see them like this showing up, and there's more information whenever you're looking at it. Of course, I can click this and get more details about it, but that's not what the focus of today is. I just wanted to let you know this is a significant issue. Another issue is that page speed insights, or the Google Lighthouse, if you go and look at that, again, this is walmart.com. Of course, there's the performance scores and other things like that. One thing that the JavaScript can affect, if the JavaScript is supposed to load something in, it could potentially affect the cumulative layout shift one way or the other, because whatever that JavaScript was supposed to do may actually not happen, or it may happen intermittently and cause the page to shift. That's theoretical, and I'm just letting you know that can happen. The other thing is, if you're not going to use that JavaScript, or if that JavaScript is broken, then you may want to consider removing it. And under opportunities for Walmart.com, the top one that's up here from their analysis is removing unused JavaScript. So these are real issues that affect the performance. And then reducing JavaScript execution time. So if you have JavaScript on the site that is failing, you may just want to remove it, because the loading time of the different files across the network does affect your high-level performance items inside of Google Lighthouse, including your first input delay, large contentful paint, and first contentful paint, as well as the other metrics like time to interactive. So high level, it's good to manage your JavaScript and the JavaScript errors, and understanding where those are and hunting those down is really important. So so that said, I'm going to come back into our portal here in a minute and talk about the JavaScript errors and CSP violations. But I want to walk you through what we're doing, because not everything is quite in the new JavaScript errors beta yet, and I want to show you where we're going with it. So high level, JavaScript errors, one of the biggest things you need to know when you're trying to find the JavaScript errors on your site, you may have a website with literally hundreds of different pages. So it's important for you to know where on your site that it's happening. So the new JavaScript errors page has a breakdown of JavaScript error types. And keep in mind, we're putting the JavaScript errors and the CSP violations, CSP errors, into the same kind of reporting because they're not the same. We know they're not the same, but it's pretty handy to see them side by side, because if you have a JavaScript error, it may cause something else to not load that should be loading. So we think it's handy to have them side by side, and that's been some of the feedback we've had. And then, so what we're showing here is the percentage of sessions impacted, and as well as the overall quantity. And what I'm going to show you is very similar from real user monitoring and our synthetic monitoring. Both of those have the ability to give you higher levels of granularity about where the JavaScript errors are happening on your site. And so geography could be a major factor. Maybe you have localized for Canada, Brazil, or United States, or any other type of area. Where are those JavaScript errors happening? Because you may have localized content. So that is important to understand. So right away, we're going to show you that in this. And I'll switch over right now. This is just a couple of slides because I want to point out a couple of things that we're going to do. But and so I'll walk through this, but certainly device, OS, browser, those are very important to know where they're happening. It is pretty common that you'll see a particular browser that's exhibiting JavaScript errors if there's a non-compliant piece of JavaScript that is not functioning on a particular platform. So the idea is that we want to have multi-select inside of each one of these categories to further help you drill down. And this is a set of filter options that is dynamic. As you click on these lists up here, you'll start seeing some filter options loading in, which can be modified as well. And then you'll see that the trend of the JavaScript errors here is now broken down into the different types using bar charts. We thought that was going to be a little bit easier to understand and use. And then down below, we've got the error, the information about the error, as well as the percentage of errors, the percentage. So if you've got 100 errors that are happening and 22 of them are for this one, for this time period, then you'll see 22%, obviously. So the other thing that's highly relevant here is the percentage of sessions impacted. So if you had 100 sessions and 22 of them had experienced the issue, then you get 22%. So that's pretty straightforward, right? But knowing the percentage of your users, real users or synthetic, will help to drive you towards understanding the impact. And so this is going to help with identifying like conversion rates and other things like that, which is another new innovation that we're going to bring to the table on this as well. So our JavaScript error drill down, if you select the JavaScript error from this page, for example, and you go into the drill down, you'll see that you can select more detail about this particular error, what pages, devices, locations, and other things that this is happening on. That this particular JavaScript error is happening. So now you know where to go to track down this JavaScript error and understand the impact that it's having on your site holistically, as well as trending the information there. Now, as you start to drill down on the JavaScript errors, you'll start to see the scatter plots up here. That's going to show you the affected sessions. And then when you click on the scatter plot there, it'll take you to a session level scatter plot to say, okay, this person had a JavaScript error on the checkout page, and here are the other pages that they visited, and to give you an idea of the rest of their experience. And then whenever you select the row here, this is a particular page and session that had this issue. Clicking on the row will then take you into more detail about the JavaScript error, where the JavaScript error was from, the stack trace, and other information about it. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over, and I'll show you an example of a JavaScript error as well as a content security policy violation to help you understand the breakdown. All right, so this is the old JavaScript errors page here. And so what we were doing is giving you totals, and we're showing you the breakdown of different JavaScript errors. And then our scatter plot was a frequency diagram to show you the frequency that certain JavaScript errors that were happening, and then you can actually drill in from here. So we've enhanced this quite a bit. Our new JavaScript errors page, it looks like this. So I'm going to go ahead and start here, and you've got JavaScript errors for real users. And so again, with a JavaScript error, you want to make sure that you include, there's a small JavaScript snippet that you want to put at the top of your page. I'll talk about that a little bit more at the end of the session today. Our JavaScript tag, the blue triangle JavaScript tag, does collect the JavaScript errors. But if you load our the blue triangle JavaScript, RUM JavaScript, onto the page late, and like far after the onload, for example, it will not be able to listen for the JavaScript errors. So instead, what we give you is a little piece of JavaScript code that then you can put in the head of your page. It doesn't make any network calls. It just simply catalogs the JavaScript errors so that later, when the blue triangle tag does load, it can collect the JavaScript errors. So we don't recommend that you put the blue triangle's JavaScript in the head of the page. So this little piece of snippet will help to capture those. So that's just going to be, and I'll point that out at the end in our help section, or Mark can pull that up and show that at the end of the session. Okay, so the JavaScript errors, it's important to understand where they are happening. So sometimes you'll have some localized content. In this case, we're showing state level, but it could be a certain country that's having more JavaScript errors. And then the top domains that are generating the errors, you can see right now that the CDN honey.io is one of them that's generating a lot of JavaScript errors on this page. And that's actually injected content, I believe. And then we've got what pages that they're happening on. We've got order confirmation is a little bitty sliver here. We've got a my bag, and we've got a home page where they're happening significantly. By the way, I'm just showing some demo data, okay? This is just an example of just to light up the boards for us to look at how this functions. So if we want to look at, let's say, the Windows, then I can select just Windows, and that will give me this 1,039 errors that happen when they happened during the course of or whatever the time period is that I have selected. Of course, the filter options are all still relevant. All the different breakdowns for the filter options are here. You can see them. I'm just looking at the United States for this particular view, but there's all the filter options are available, and you can select a different time frame if you desire. But this, by default, it's just going to give you the last 24 hours. So based on the criteria that I have, I'm looking at Windows, and I'm looking at the United States, and I see this breakdown. I can see that the honey.io is actually something that's popping up on this particular site. And if I pick the click on that, it's going to take me into a little bit more drill down detail. But before I do that, you can see the error type is a CSP violation. Again, we're showing you the CSP violation and the JavaScript errors next to each other, and we have different categories. There are a lot of different categories. One of them's a type error. And then, so we have the most popular JavaScript errors or most frequent JavaScript errors, kind of like shown here, like syntax errors and type errors. And then we group the others into other at the moment. But you can see that the breakdowns are pretty straightforward. And you also have some level of granularity with stack trace information as well. And so the percentage of total errors is 51%, but the sessions impacted is really low. So we have a few hundred errors, but not really a major amount of the sessions. And now it's with the content security policy violations in particular. You want to understand that they can be injected content. So if somebody has installed, let's say, Honey on their browser, and as a browser plugin, then whenever they visit your page, it might actually start putting coupons of your competitors onto the page there. So in this case, you've got a few different pages and examples of where this happened on, with some information about that particular page, and then clicking on that will take you we'll pull in the more detail about the about the issue. And in this case, it's a content security policy violation, and it refused to load a certain resource. So that's a content security policy violation. If we look at, let's say, another couple of examples, I'll actually pull up one that's and so keep in mind you can sort by frequency, and then I'll pick this one here. Member not found, so we'll click on that one. So here's some of the JavaScript error information, and then where they were experienced, again with some percentages. It's a pretty low frequent one, and then as you get down to this level, you're starting to see the information about it a little bit more, and then clicking on the detail will actually pull in the JavaScript error for more examination. But in this case, the error message is broken down. Now, one thing that we haven't quite done yet, and then why I started with the slides, is we're going to break this out to give you the error message and the stack trace separately, and break out and give you more more detail in the stack trace to help you. And we'll also kind of link to the file where it happened. So right now we've got the file listed here, but we want to make sure that we're going to include that as well. Now, the other thing that's not quite here yet is the ability to click and go directly into the drill down. So where we're headed with this, and very shortly over the next probably week or two, is that you'll be able to click on the scatter plot, and it will take you right into the drill down for the real user data. So if I just click on this, I'm sorry, I pulled up a couple of these. So if basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to go directly into the real user performance detail, and actually that is going to give us more information about the individual session. So basically you're going to see the page view scatter plot of affected sessions, and whenever you click on one of those, it's going to open up and show you the other pages of the session that was affected. And so you'll see those pop into that scatter plot view, and then of course you'll be able to drill down a little bit more and get to this kind of detail and more information about it. So high level, that's what we're doing with this, and where we're going with the real user one. The synthetic is very similar in that you start off high level. There's some things that are not relevant to synthetic, as they are not as relevant to synthetic as they are to ROMs. So there's a few less drill down items on here because they're synthetic data from the synthetic agents. They are real users. I'm sorry, they're real browsers, but not real users. So from here you can drill in on locations and other factors that other breakdowns of the synthetic data, and then you've got the history of frequencies that are happening, and the bucket sizes are adjustable. The JavaScript error that we're showing here is JavaScript uncaught reference for Google's tag, right? And you can see it happened about 1899 times. Percentage of errors and sessions impacted is shown there, and what I've got now is a breakdown of this particular error, and along with the more drill down information about it, the frequency of that. So if I want to just look at the ones that were coming from Seattle, I can select this, and I get the breakdown from Seattle over time, as well as the right now this is a frequency scatter plot, but again, this is going to be the affected sessions over on the left, and then the session level scatter plot on the right. So that's a change, one more change we're going to be making. And then if you click here, you actually get more information about it. So I'm showing you the page URL that the JavaScript happened on, and then the traffic segment, page group, page name. So the more information about the synthetic measurement and the page that it originated from, and then what the load time of the page was to give you a little bit of performance information, and then more information about the JavaScript error. So we're going to be expanding this and adding some more links out to the other details and drill down of the report. But this is pretty right away, you can tell where the problems are happening, and that's why we wanted to go ahead and show you the updates that we're making. And with that, I think what we'll do is just go ahead and open it up for questions. Oh, the one area I wanted to just point out is if you go into the help section and you do a search.
Right. So Tim, you'll want to search for the How to Track JavaScript Errors in RUM guide, and there's a section at the bottom of that guide to look at that code snippet.
Yep. So if you put in JavaScript error into the search, you'll get this right here, which is how to track JavaScript errors in RUM. And right down here is a little bit of information about what our solution is. We'll be updating this with the newer pages, and so like there's a whole more going on here, all the way down to this error event listener code snippet, and then we have this in a code snippet window that you can copy and paste. It does go in the top of the head section of the page. It is not making any network calls, but it will help to catalog all of the JavaScript errors that are happening on the web page. This is low impact or no impact type action that's happening. It's just taking the it's doing a couple of housekeeping things like resetting the resource timings, buffer size, which the blue triangles tag does already anyway when it loads. But so that happens a little earlier. But the main point of this is that it's doing a listener for listening to the JavaScript errors that happen on the page. So highly encourage you to install this into the head section of your pages, and that way you'll get a lot more granularity, and so JavaScript errors that happen really early in the page will get captured. Okay, with that, I'll turn it back over to Mark.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Tim. So I'm going to pause now and check the chat and questions and see if there's anything we can help answer for you guys. All right, so I see a question from Gus. Are these JS errors that occur on our site provided in real time, or are they delayed a few days? Yeah, that's a good question. So these JavaScript errors are coming in along with all of the other real user data. So if you're looking at our dashboards, while we're collecting that performance information, we're also collecting these JavaScript errors. So on the actual report pages here, you're able to see the data up to the last minute. So from Michael, can this additional script be injected with the other tag? Yeah. So the way we intend for this to work is for this just very small script snippet, this error event listener, to be injected at the top of the head section. And so then our JavaScript tag can load later in the page. So this script is going to be collecting all of the errors that occur from the beginning of the page load, ideally, since it'll be in the head section. And then once our tag loads, we'll be able to communicate with that catalog of JavaScript errors from this snippet here, and we'll be able to send that data back to our system. And okay, is this available in Blue Triangle today? And if so, how can I get there? Yeah, that's a good question. I know that Tim was using our UAT environment, but this is actually already available in beta in our production portal. So under the Real User Monitoring tab, this is our existing JavaScript errors and CSP violations page. And you can get to the beta right underneath that. And the same thing goes for synthetic. You have those two links there as well. All right, well, I think that was the last one. So with that, guys, we appreciate your time. And if you do have any more questions, we're always happy to speak with you offline. So feel free to reach out to us anytime. You can reach us here in support at bluetriangle.com. And you can also submit a request or a question into our help center at help.bluetriangle.com. For more information about Blue Triangle product training, like how to watch past sessions or how to register for upcoming ones, be sure to check out our help center. You can find upcoming sessions here if you click on the product training button and watch past sessions. Here you can register for upcoming ones. All right, guys, that's all we have for you today. Thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Have a great day.